So the first problem of probability exposure is 10 different books and 2 different pens are given to 3 boys so that each gets equal number of things. We need to find the probability that the same boy does not receive both the pens. So as per the given information, we can believe that total 12 elements, 12 distinct elements been given to 3 boys. So each boy received 4 elements each. Now, when each of them are receiving 4 elements, that's known to us. Under this possibility, we need to find probability for that both pens not received by the same boy. Okay? Is the description clear to all?
Yes, sir.
So, firstly, you just try, then we will discuss over this problem. So, if we try to analyze this data, firstly, we will consider the probability into 2 parts. Okay. First is the probability of the given condition, that if we distribute these 12 distinct elements among 3 boys, each of them will receive equal number of elements, and within that, whatever part will be favoring that both these pens are not been given to same boy, that will be our favorable condition. So as such, we do have two different approach. The first approach I am going through, for numerator, we can think of that out of 3 boys, if not one is receiving the both the pens, in that case, 2 boys will receive this pen. So which 2 boys will receive, that we can decide in 3C2 ways. Now, apart from the pen, they are also supposed to receive 3 books. So in 10C 3 ways, we can decide book for the first student. In 7C3, we can select another 3 books for the boy who has already received a pen. Now, which 3 books will be received by which boy, that we can decide in 2 ways. Is that okay? And we are dividing this with a denominator where this section is common. Along with that, other possibility will be both the pens being given to same boy. In that case, that boy is supposed to receive 2 more books from the 10 books, that we can decide in 10C2 ways. Whereas from rest 8 books, we can select 4 for one of the boy, and the other 4 will be left over for the other one or the last one. And hence, if we simplify this total data, it is getting neutralized to 8 by 11. Okay. In the calculation, firstly 3C2, 3C2, this 3C1, that can be cancelled out. Okay. 10C3 is 120, 7C3 is 35, and 2 been kept. Over here, 7C3 is there, which is 35, and 8C4 is 70. So cancelling this 35, 35, 70, we are having 2 here, and cancellation of the other terms, finally leading us to 8 by 11. Is that okay with all? Now, what is the other way of doing the same job? In that case, you can directly think of the denominator first. We do have 12 different elements, and that's been divided equally among 3 boys. So that we can do in 12 factorial by 4 factorial cube ways, keeping the numerator same. So as such, even if you consider of the denominator directly as 12 factorial divided by 4 factorial cube, we are supposed to receive the same answer. Okay. The next problem is A matrix of order 3 cross 3 is formed by using the elements from this set, that is integer values from -3 to +3. Then probability that the matrix is either symmetric or skew symmetric. Now we know that in a 3 cross 3 matrix, there are 9 entries. But if it is a symmetric matrix, how many distinct numeric values can appear over there? Can you answer?
So 6.
6. Because in the upper triangle elements, there will be 3 elements who can be all distinct at most. And there will be 3 diagonal elements who can be all distinct. So that means overall, at most, we can have 6 different values over there. Okay? From -3 to +3, right? And if I think of skew symmetric matrix, whatever is the value you decide for upper triangular elements, corresponding lower triangular element is just negative of that. So we can decide for only upper triangular elements. By default, the corresponding lower triangle element will be fixed. And in a skew symmetric matrix, the diagonal entries has to be 0, right? So with that idea, if we consider total possibility of making such matrices is 7 to the power 9, because each position has 7 possibility, total 9 positions to be filled up. So 7 to the power 9 total possibility, out of which we can get symmetric in 7 to the power 6 ways. As we can decide that maximum, I can decide this much. The corresponding lower triangular elements, 3 elements over here, that will be decided on the basis of upper triangular elements. Okay. Whereas when we are into skew symmetric matrix, of that diagonal elements are 0. And once I decide this 3 elements, the other 3 elements supposed to be negative of that. So we can make decision only over these 3 positions in 7 cube way. And there will be a single matrix which will be common in both symmetric and skew symmetric. Can you answer which matrix is that?
So null matrix.
The null matrix. If I make all the positions 0, then it is symmetric as well as simultaneously skew symmetric. So that means total number of symmetric or skew symmetric matrix will be 7 to the power 6 plus 7 cube minus 1. To have the probability, I need to divide that with 7 to the power 9, which will lead us to option D as our answer. Is that okay? Why we are subtracting this one, is it clear? Because in this symmetric and this skew symmetric counting, both has the null matrix counted in those respective category. So it's been counted twice, whereas it should be counted only once. So we have subtracted 1. Divided by total possibility, leading us to option D as our required probability. Am I clear this far? So we are moving towards the next problem. The next problem asks us, a fair die is thrown three times. The chance that sum of 3 numbers appearing on the die is less than 11. Okay, so we have rolled a fair die 3 times. A fair die means which will have equal probability for appearance of all of its 6 faces. Okay, if we roll such a die 3 times, we need to find probability that sum of the face values appearing is strictly less than 11. So for this particular question, if we try to solve this in general, we can think of our favorable cases are 3, 4, 5 up to 10. and non-favorable sums are 11, 12 up to 18. Now, this information itself can be sufficient, but how, that we will discuss later. Firstly, I am going for the general process. Now, if we think of three phase values are respectively x1, x2 and x3, then what we want is x1 plus x2 plus x3 less than equals to 10, where each of the xi is varying from 1 to 6. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, to remove this inequality, I have added this y, x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus some y. Y is 10 minus left hand side. That makes it equals to 10. But even then, this y will be of whole nature because y can be even 0. When this sum is 10, then y should be 0. So to transform this into a natural variable, I have added one more with y, and to keep the balance, I have added one with 10. So that means at this moment, what we have is 4 natural variable with a total of 11. Is it okay? Number of natural solution is 10C3. Now out of 10C3, what we cannot accept is 10C3 minus one of the variable is 8 and rest are 1. If any of these three variables becomes 8 and rest 3 are 1, then it is not acceptable. So there will be three such solution. X1 is equals to 8 or x2 equals to 8 or x3 is equals to 8. So out of these three, which one is 8, that we can decide in 3C1 ways. And all these three solutions should be discarded from 10C3. Because if y plus 1 is 8, we don't have any problem. In that case, all these three will be 1. So that is why it's not 4C1, 3C1. Apart from that, what else solution we are supposed to remove? So when any of these three becomes 7 and the rest three variable will have a 2 and 2 ones. So out of x1 or x2 or x3, which one will be 7, that we can decide in 3C1 ways. And out of the rest three variable, any one can be 2. That's also in 3C1 ways. So that means 3C1 into 3C1, that's 9 such cases will be appearing where one of these three variable is 7, one from the rest variable is 2, and the rest two variables are 1. So these are all non-acceptable possibilities. So 10C3, which is 120 minus 3 minus 9 gives us 108 favorable cases divided by 6 cube total cases gives us probability half. Okay. Whereas we can also look for a much easy description, like if we roll n dice, then the sum of the phase values x and sum of the phase values 7 and minus x will be possible in equal ways. Can we confirm that? Like if you have rolled n dice, then sum of the phase values n, that's possible in unique way. It is combination of all 1. Similarly, if you consider sum of the phase value 6n, that's also possible in unique way. So that means whenever the sum of the phase values will be n plus 6n, that is 7n, this sum is supposed to be true in equal way, because from beginning, what you can consider addition of 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 with a combination of all 1. On the other hand, from the combination of all 6, that is generating a sum of 6n, you can consider this as a possibility of arrangement minus 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, right? So that means when we are rolling simply 3 dice, the sum 3 will be possible equivalently with 18, right? 4 will be possible equivalently with sum of the face values 17, right?
Yes,
Is the
sir.
statement clear to all? That 3 and 18, they are possible in equal ways. 4 and 17 will be possible in equal ways. Similarly, 5 and 16 will be possible in equal ways. 3 and 18, these are unique. Like when it is 4, 3 to 4, you can consider one of the face value to be increased by margin 1. Similarly, when 18 to 17, we need to think it is from a combination of all 6. One of the face value has to be decreased by 1. Similarly, over here, whatever we are considering in terms of increment, in this particular form, we can think of from 18, it is a decrement in equivalent way. So 3 to 10 will have an unique correspondence in the reverse order, like 10 holds the correspondence with 11, 9 with 12, so on, 4 with 17, 3 with 18. So our favorable sum values, if it is possible in X ways, non-favorable values, they are also possible in X ways. So required probability, X divided by 2X, that's half. Is that okay? That makes the question much easy to address, because it does not matter how you are calculating the favorable ways, whether it is forming equation or using binomial, like adding x1 plus x to the power 1 plus x square plus x cube up to x to the power 6, multiplied thrice, means whole cube of that. From there, if we try to have some of the coefficients of the powers of x not exceeding 10, so that will also give us same value. But whatever you try to calculate, that is going to be a bit time consuming. Whereas if you simply identify the favorable sum values and non-favorable sum values has equal number of possibility, and there is a one-to-one correspondence for every sum from one part to a sum of other part, and hence it is obvious to be probability half. So answer is going to be option A. So next question is, or better to say next two questions. The first 12 letters of the alphabet are written down at random. What is the probability that there are exactly 4 letters between A and B? It is the first question. Second question, that is question 3, what is written. If n biscuits are distributed at random among capital N number of beggars, we need to find the probability that a particular beggar receives R number of biscuits, where R being said, it is definitely strictly less than total number of biscuits. Okay, so these are the two questions. You should try. Those who are going through the video, they should pause the video over here and try on their own, and then we will discuss the solution. So here your time starts. So over here, we can decide which 4 letters is going to appear between A and B in tensy 4 ways. A and B can arrange themselves around the 4 letters in 2 ways, means they can exchange each other positions. The selected 4 letters, they can be arranged among themselves in 4 factorial ways, whereas this 6 letter together as one unit and rest 6 letter as different units. So together, that is 7 units can be arranged among themselves in 7 factorial ways. With respect to total number of arrangement is 12 factorial. So if we simply cancel out the data and simplify this into a small ratio, that will be our required probability. Okay. So before simplification of numbers, is that process clear to all? Now, if I look into the next problem, firstly, we need to have distribution of n biscuits among capital N beggars. So in such problems, we will consider the biscuits to be identical as there is no other information there. So all we can distinguish among the fact which of the beggars has got how many biscuits. So we can think of number of biscuits with each of the beggar is x1, x2, x3, so on up to xn, x capital N, giving us a total of n. Whole solution of that is the overall possibility. And what do we prefer as our favorable case? That a particular beggar receives n biscuits, means one particular of this variable is having value r. So if I remove that variable, how many variables will be there at the left hand side? Can anyone answer? From this capital N number of variables, if I remove a particular variable with value r, so that reduce my left hand side to how many variables?
Capital N minus 1.
Capital N minus 1, and the right hand side sum?
N minus R.
N minus r. So our required probability will be whole solution for capital N minus 1 variables with sum of n minus r, and overall whole solution for this present equation will be our denominator. That will be our required probability. The next problem to this is a bag contains some white and some black balls. All combinations of balls being equally likely. The total number of balls in the bag is 10. If 3 balls are drawn at random without replacement and all of them are found to be black, then the probability that the bag contains exactly 1 white and 9 black ball is. So to approach the question, what additional information we'll definitely consider, as you can identify the given options are in this variation. So let us firstly think of this green highlighted section of statement. A bag contains some white and some black balls and all combination of balls being equally likely. So what are the possible combinations we can think of? 0 white, 10 black ball, right? 1 white, 9 black ball, and so on. 10 white and no black ball. These are the 11 possibilities, right? Am I clear? And this 11 possibilities all are equally likely, means any such possibility will have probability 1 by 11. Now, if it is 1 by 11 and already 3 balls been withdrawn and found to be black, if the balls of same color are identical among themselves, so that means out of 11 possibilities, now 3 possibility already been diminished. That is 0 black ball, 1 black ball, and 2 black ball. Out of rest 8, 1 is favorable. So if we consider in that way, the probability should have been 1 by 8. And as you can identify, none of the options is 1 by 8. So by default, from the given options, we will consider balls of same color are also distinguishable. Because if balls of same colors are distinguishable, then only out of available certain number of balls of same color, which specific ones been selected or which specific ones been withdrawn, that we can distinguish, and then only our probability can differ from 1 by 8. Is this description part clear? So this information was not there with the question. It is as per the data of given options we have considered on our own. So nowhere in the question this is mentioned, but we need to consider in that direction to achieve one of the option matching for us. Now, if I consider these were the earlier possibilities, these are the 11 cases: 0 white, 10 black, 1 white, 9 black, and so on, 10 white, 0 black. All of them had probability 1 by 11. Now, out of which, now what are our possibility left over? Already 3 balls been withdrawn and all been found black. So now the possibility we are left out with ourselves is 3 black, 7 white, 4 blacks, 6 white, and so on, 10 black, 0 white. Out of this 8 cases, 9 black, 1 white case is favorable. But if I consider balls of same color are distinguishable, then these are not possible in equivalent way, and hence the probability will not be 1 upon 8. But different probabilities can be found, like 3 balls, 7 white. If I consider this case and 3 consecutive withdrawals when found all black, that's possible in 3 by 10 into 2 by 9 into 1 by 8 ways. Similarly, when there was 4 black and 6 white balls, 3 consecutive withdrawals are black. That's possible in 4 by 10, 3 by 9, 2 by 8 ways. So on, when 10 black ball and no white ball, it was obvious to happen, and hence the probability 1 can be written as 10 by 10, 9 by 9, 8 by 8. Instead of writing 1, I am writing in this point just to keep the symmetry. So that means our required probability is 9 into 8 into 7 by 10 into 9 into 8 divided by sum of all these particular cases. So all this triplet of product, they are supposed to have denominator 10 into 9 into 8, what I can cancel from the whole ratio. And after that, for betterment of adding, I can divide each of this triplet of product with 3 factorial. That transforms my required probability into 9C3 if I divide this with 3 factorial. And in the denominator, we do have an addition from 3C3, then 4C3, then 5C3 up to 10C3. So the denominator is capital sigma over RC3, where R varies from 3 to 10. Okay. Now the numerator is 84 and the denominator is 11C4. Right? Is that okay? How the denominator is 11C4?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there are 2 processes through which you can decide. Either you can consider it is sum of the coefficients of x cube from 1 plus x whole cube plus 1 plus x whole to the power 4 plus 1 plus x whole to the power 5 up to 1 plus x whole to the power 10. Okay. Or otherwise you can simply add 2C3 with that and subtract that also. So 2C3 is theoretically 0. So it will be 11C4 minus 2C3. It's using the idea that NCR minus 1 plus NCR, that gives you N plus 1 CR. Okay, so that means when you are having this sum starting from 3C3 plus 4C3 plus 5C3 and so on up to 10C3, you can simply add here NCR and NCR minus 1. Better to be changed into the different values. So you can also consider 2C3 plus 1C3, okay, or even 0C3. So these are actually not contributing terms. But accordingly, what help it can provide to us is we can think of this whole appearance as coefficient of x cube in 1 plus x to the power 0 plus 1 plus x to the power 1 plus 1 plus x whole square plus 1 plus x whole cube, so on up to 1 plus x whole to the power 10, right? In this sum, The first three terms will not contribute, but they are just making our GP more easy to calculate. Okay, so if you calculate, you can identify the coefficient is going to be 11C4. Okay. So anyway, 9C3 by 11C4, that is 14 by 15, sorry, 14 by 55 is going to be our required probability. That is option A. Okay, I'm resizing the page. Is the whole solution visible simultaneously? Just go through it. The next problem is P1, P2, P3, P4 are 4 players playing in a knockout tournament. And chance that P1 will pair up with Pj is proportional to J. And Pi wins if I less than J. Over here, there is a discrepancy in language. Just make it, okay, put a star over here. Okay, you should consider it in a match between Pi and Pj. Pj wins, sorry, Pi wins if I less than J. Okay, so instead of this particular language, it's better to be replaced with the language. Now, what do we want? That on the basis of this information, we need to find the probability that P2 will reach the next round. Okay. Now, if we need to have this probability that P2 will reach next level, P2 can be beaten by the lone player, that is P1. Because if in a match between Pi and Pj, Pi wins if I less than J, so P1 will win irrespective of its opponent. P2 can win only if it is playing with P3 or P4. Similarly, P3 can win only against P4, and definitely P4 will be loser irrespective of the opponent. Is that statement okay? So if I need to ensure P2 will reach next level or next round, so we need to ensure P2 must not play P1. Okay. So P1 will play against Pj, that is proportional to J. So we can consider probability that P1 will play against Pj is K into J. Over here, J varies from 2 to 4, and that's all about the possibilities of opponent of P1. So that means 2j plus 3j plus 4j, that's 9j is, sorry, 2k plus 3k plus 4k, that's 9k is equals to 1, or k must be 1 by 9. So that means P1 will play with P2, that has probability 2 by 9. P1 will play against P3, that will have probability 3 by 9. And P1 play P4 will have probability 4 by 9. So if we need to ensure P2 reach the next round, so definitely P2 must not play with P1. So we need to think of complement of this 2 by 9 probability. So that will be 7 by 9. The next problem is a student appears in 5 exams successively, each of which can result in either pass or fail. The probability of passing a particular exam is 1 by I plus j, where I is the number of failures before that exam and j is the number of exams remaining after that exam. Okay, So that means in the first examination, probability of passing will be 1 by 0 plus 4. Is that okay? Because no failure before that, and after that we are left out with 4 more exam, and so on we need to consider. If the probability that this final result of sequence after 5 exam is PFP is 1 by 2 to the power A into 3 to the power B in lowest form, where A and B are natural number, then you need to find the probability of A plus B. Now, this is a bit simpler question. So I want all of you to firstly try, keeping the video in pause, okay? And then I'll start discussing. But before my discussion, I want all of you to try this question on your own. So if we try to work on this data, what we need to identify at any stage, performance dependent over both I and J. I is the number of failure before that exam, and J is the number of examination after that exam. So when we are going for this combination, pass, fail, it is not just fail, it is fail in the second round, provided pass on first round. Then again pass, that is pass on third round. In the first round and a fail in the second round. Similarly, this F, this P, these are all conditional probability. So probability of passing the first round is going to be 1 by 4 as 0 failure before that. So I is 0 and 4 examinations left after that. So J is 4 gives us the probability 1 by 4. In the second round, if I think of probability of passing, so no failure before that. So I is again 0. And after second examination, 3 more examinations are left. So probability of passing is 1 by 3. So probability of failing will be complement to that 2 by 3. Now, when we already have a pass and a fail in the first round, now probability of passing. So in the third round, I has become 1 and J has been transformed into 2 after third examination. There will be 2 more examination. So J is 2, I is 1 now. So probability of passing 1 by 3. After 3 examination with pass, fail, pass, this proceeding, when I'll go for the 4th examination, over there I is 1 and after 4th examination, 1 more examination left. So J is also 1. So probability of passing as well as probability of failing, both will be half. And if PA proceeding is done for the last examination, J is 0, no more examination after that. But we already have 2 failures prior to that. So probability will be half for passing as well as half for fail. So if I think of this conditional probability or this general multiplication rule, can you all recall general multiplication rule? It can be written as probability of pass on the first round multiplied with probability of failure given pass at the first round. It is probability of pass in the third round given pass and fail in first 2 round. Similarly, this is probability of failure in the fourth round given pass, fail, pass in the first 3 round. And this last half is nothing but probability of pass in the last round given the trail behind that is pass, fail, pass, fail. So calculating and simplifying, we have got 1 by 2 cube into 3 square. So that means over here, A plus B is going to be 5. The next problem is A and B play a game of tennis. The situation of the game is as follows. If one scores 2 consecutive points after a deuce, he wins. If loss of a point is followed by a win of a point, it is deuce. Deuce means you can think of draw. The chance of a server to win a point on his or her own service is 2/3. The game is at deuce position and A is serving. Probability that we need to determine the probability that A win this game, where it has been given that serves are changed after each point. Okay, so that means at this moment the game is in draw position. A is serving. So for this particular serve, probability of winning for A is 2/3. Probability of winning for B is going to be 1/3. Okay? Is the statement okay? Now, after every service, it is supposed to be interchanged. So at this moment, if A holds the serve, so after the first serve, it will go to B. Is that okay? Similarly, when B will be serving, probability of winning for B is 2/3, whereas probability of winning for A will be changed to 1/3 then. And it's continuing so on. After every service, the service get changed, the server get changed. And for any player, probability of winning his or her own service is 2/3. And obviously, the probability of winning for other service is going to be 1/3. And we will have a winner if from a deuce position, any of the player wins 2 consecutive games. Okay, or wins 2 consecutive service, better to say. So that means if we try to think in favor of A, I can have the result after 2 services, or otherwise 4 services, or otherwise 6 services, and so on, because it will be differing by the fact that from the present draw situation or deuce situation, how many more deuce is supposed to follow. And if we consider theoretically, an infinite run of deuce is considerable. Is my statement clear to all of you? So we can think of our favorable case in terms of distinct dependent terms, that after how many more deuces A is going to win the game. So if I consider the probability of deuce firstly, so it can be A wins his or her own service and B wins his or her own service. So A and B winning their own services in the first 2 try, that's 2/3 into 2/3, or otherwise B wins the service of A and A wins the service of B, that's with probability 1/3 into 1/3. So that means probability of another deuce is going to be 5/9. Okay, and our requirement varies as per the number of deuces to follow. So if I consider that before A wins, there will be n more deuces. So it will be 5/9 to the power n into A wins its own service multiplied with the next round. A also wins the service of B, where n dependently can take any whole value. So our required probability will be sigma over 5/9 whole to the power n into 2/9, where n varies over whole values, which eventually leads you to calculation that's giving us probability half.